I'm Al Salehai.
I'm Nakavis Mahajer.
Welcome to another episode of The Doctor and Devil's Advocate.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the big phenomenons right now is Alec Baldwin's impersonation of Donald Trump.
Yes, absolutely.
And apparently, I don't know if you read, but just recently, a newspaper in the Dominican Republic actually posted a picture of Alec Baldwin
As the president.
of the United States in
By
relation to an article they were
Sure.
writing about Donald Trump. That's how good he's gotten this.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, this impersonation. And speaking of impersonations, I have been working on one of my own. Originally, I was working on a Donald J. Trump impersonation, and I realized that I have no connection there. I don't really know that guy. And a guy I thought I knew for 20 years, it turns out I didn't know at all.
What are you talking about?
You see, I actually did a little investigating into you. Now, into you, yeah. See, when I met you, I was just an academic guy, and you had a radio show, which
Yes.
I eventually joined, and we took stuff, and we ended up working together and had the first ever broadcast prior to YouTube on the internet.
The first one ever. Audio video.
Correct.
For 800,000 unique hits in the year 1999.
When I met you, I had heard, and you had told me that you were a singer, okay, Persian singer.
Yes.
I didn't really know what that meant, nor did I really necessarily care about that genre of music
Sure,
at that
yes.
time. No disrespect to you, just to anyone.
Of course, yeah.
So I didn't really ever listen to your
Really?
music, and I never. And if you know, authentically, I never even asked you about it, nor did you ever offer.
Yeah.
You never put a CD. Nothing.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite know. Now, on our first reunion show just a couple of weeks ago, my girlfriend was on set, sees Maccabees, being a Persian superstar that he
kind
is.
of you, thank you.
My girlfriend recognizes him and his name, and he's like, oh my god, when I was 16, 45 years ago when this guy was popular.
You going out with a cougar?
I used to love this guy's music. He was amazing, and I used to he has one or two songs.
She's 61?
That's right, yeah. She was like, this is great. I was like, okay, that's cool. You know this guy? I guess a lot of people know this guy. That's cool. So I didn't think much of it until we go back to have dinner at her house, and her mom's there. And she's trying to explain to her mom who this guy is, and the mom's like, oh yeah, the name sounds familiar. Do you have any of his music? Now, today, we don't put tapes on, we don't put DVDs on. We go onto YouTube. So YouTube's wired directly to the flat screen TV.
Yes.
And I kept telling him, you're not going to find, my co-host on YouTube. What are you doing? You have to go find somewhere and find an MP3 online. It's not going to work this way. There's no video of this guy. So anyway, proven wrong as I am many times, she goes online, types in Maccabees. I don't think there are any other Maccabees on earth. Puts in Maccabees, and sure enough, not just one, a multitude of videos. More than I think more than Ron Jeremy has ever done in his life, are of this guy.
Wait a minute.
Music
Why'd
videos.
you refer me to a porn
We'll
star?
get to that in a moment. You see, the fact of the matter is, I thought, okay, now this must be one of those still photos, and the music is going on, but no. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I can no longer look at you the same way anymore.
Why is that?
Because I don't know when, at some point, you might get excited during the show and your hips might start gyrating and knock over this table. I swear to God, I am not exaggerating. Literally, we log on to YouTube, I come on, and I see this guy, 20 years younger, and the set goes black. And there's vocal music in the background, and he's just kind of getting into the mood. And I can't explain it. He's just sitting there like this, one with himself, with his eyes closed. He's just dancing like this, doing some weird thing, and his arms are going from, it's like, this, and oh my God, this cat is and he's doing this, and that's where the lawnmower or the leaf blower action starts to happen. He's got this gyrating thing that's going on, and he's getting into it. And then right when the music starts to go, so does the hips. And it's just going this way. And then first it's with the hair and the head. And then with feet planted, the hip is just pounding in every direction possible. Like this. And it's just such a confusing situation. I don't know what I'm seeing. I don't quite understand what's going on. And the music is playing in the background, and every now and then he throws his hair in, gets the microphone, and is doing this weird thing. And I swear to God, At one point in time, you look straight into the camera, and I think you actually knocked down the gaffer's boom, because in the middle of what I would feel to be a musical climax, you turn around and execute what I believe to be a crescent kick, right in the middle of it, never moving his feet, just his hip the entire time, vehemently, and his arms like this. At some point, he looks straight into the camera, and on beat, turns his leg, and full on executes a crescent kick right there to the viewers. I don't know. This cannot be real. I don't think I saw it. He kind of looks really skinny in that photo, in that video.
What's with the Ron Jeremy? Why don't you sit down, pull up your chair.
I need a breath for a moment.
Yeah,
but
what happened to the Ron Jeremy comment?
I think that both of you guys use your hips quite frequently for what you do professionally.
Yes.
I don't know. I need to know. I need to know what was going on, and why is it you did the same thing in every single music? There's like 30 of them, and that's what's going on in every single one,
man.
except for the guy-on-guy one that you had. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. The only one that was different, where you weren't gyrating your hips alone, is when you were gyrating your hips with 4 other dudes that were doing the same thing. And they kept signaling to each other like, oh, come in, I want some more. And each time, there's like some extra added like chest action while they're looking into the camera, saying yes. And so I'm not quite certain what all this means. I just know that I can't look at you the same way anymore.
I appreciate that.
I may actually have to sit on the other side of the table
No
from
problem.
now on.
You're safe, man. You're safe. You're not my type. You're okay.
I hope so, but that can get into our next topic regarding gender roles.
Pull up your seat, yes, and let's talk about gender roles. That's funny. The funniest part of this whole point that this gentleman surprised me with right now, actually, I'm laughed so much my mouth is already, is that in 20-something years, this guy never went online and Googled my name. He never went to YouTube and Googled my name. He had no idea.
There was no YouTube when I met you. I mean, think about the context.
There's been YouTube since. You figure in the last 20 years, I've done concerts at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, concerts in Hollywood Palladium in Los Angeles, concerts in, it was called the Palace. Now it's called, it's a different name right now, a club in Los Angeles. And the gentleman who was hosting a show with Avalon was the name of the club now. The club is called Avalon now, which was called the Palace in the past. So you had never seen it, and I guess you saw it.
Did anyone know about this?
In your girlfriend.
Does anyone know? She didn't know about it. She'd never seen this music video. We were just stunned.
In your girlfriend's mother's video.
I had to defend. I said, this isn't that guy. I still do not believe that is you. It can't be you. Well, tell me. What's the deal with the hips?
The
if
bottom
it is
line
you,
is,
what's going on there?
Shakira
can I see it?
Shakira made it.
Can I see it? How does it happen? Do you still have it 20 years later?
You have to pay minimum $40 to be a...
$40 is all it takes? I swear to God, I will pay it right now if you do it.
No problem. $40 to get a ticket to come in. If you're sitting close to the front, up to $200. But the bottom line is, yes.
The bottom line is what?
I do sing. And
there was no singing involved.
I was thinking about maybe looking at somebody else. It doesn't sound like me. I don't know. Anyways, I'm glad you.
What was the kick? Who are you kicking?
I'm glad. I have no idea which one you're talking about. There's so many of them. The bottom line is, I'm glad that my partner finally realized who his partner is. I really appreciate that. Can we talk about something that's more pertinent to these lovely people viewing the show right now? I don't think they care about my singing, even though I'm making a comeback, and you'll be very much informed of that.
Yes, because they're bringing back the swinging 80s.
Now, what's funny is I did not perform in the 80s. Those were in the 90s.
Well, I think you were actually competing with Music and Lyrics and Hugh Grant. You were reenacting a video
that was in the 2000s.
That was supposed to be
That was
from
in the 2000s. That movie with Drew Barrymore, who's my favorite, was in the 2000s. Have you seen that show that she done now called the Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix, streaming live?
No.
It's about her becoming a cannibal.
If you were to like put your hand here and go, "Pop goes my heart," I think you do it better than Hugh Grant. I swear to God,
he's not a singer. I understand.
I think you'd be able to pull that. I want to see that.
Can we see that?
How much can I pay you to do that?
You don't have enough money. But what I'm saying is it possible for us to get back to the reason why hopefully people are tuning in to watch us?
Sorry.
But hey, Would you like to give them the address of where to go see these music videos?
Yeah,
that you
just go to
spoke about?
YouTube and type Mekabees.
How do you spell my name?
M-E-K-I... No, M-E-K... You tell them. It's something with the M-E-K, with the Mujahideen. I don't know what it was. what? M-E-K-A-B-I-Z. You get the Mecca and the Biz together.
Mecca
The
Biz.
Mecca Biz, right
That's
there.
right.
You get the
M-E-
full Mecca Biz on
M-E-K-A-B-I-Z.
YouTube.
My last name is Mohajir. He's making fun of it, which means pioneer, and he's making it sound like Mujahid.
No,
which is
M-E-K is the term for Mujahideen. It starts-
Mujahid Khab, yes,
yeah,
here,
M-E-K.
but that's a different story.
And Mohajir just happens to sound just too coincidental.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a Maharaja,
That's
a
right.
pioneer.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
But the fact of the matter is, you can go on there. You'll see that I'm not making this up at his own expense. This is real. This has happened. And he's continuing. He's actually claiming that he wants to continue to make it happen.
Less
that we're
movement
going to see it soon.
Less movement on the hips.
I will
in,
be
the, in the new
let-
ones.
yeah?
Yes, less hip movements.
Osteoporosis?
No, it still works.
Yeah?
Trust
You
me.
got it? Everything works down there?
Works perfect. Absolutely.
Oh, I'll take your word.
No,
for it.
no hydraulics necessary. No outer scenarios. Works fantastic.
That's good. That's
Are
good.
you okay?
So, very good. That's
no
been the
no
past.
complaints. For many of your family members. Anyways, but that's besides the point. Let's get back to the show. Okay, now.
Okay. So back to what I was talking about. That reminded me of this whole thing: gender roles.
Yes,
and
gender
strange
roles.
oddities.
Yes.
So what we've been noticing.
What is your opinion of that?
Well, I'm getting to that. As we've been noticing, media tends to force certain things down your throat.
Yes.
So I've noticed, and I know you're kind of a serial buff and a movie buff. I know that you've certainly noticed in the aughts and in the late few years, so many roles have changed. One of the things that I've noticed so many times on things like 24 and on other shows, there are female presidents. Okay, so we've noticed like this thing has been pre-programmed in our head for over a decade now that there must be a female president because we're seeing it on our shows. But in addition to that large screen concept, we've noticed so many strange transgender roles or gender neutral roles where there's characters where you can't tell if they're male or female.
Well, in Orange is the New Black, there was that gentleman who was actually, she's transsexual, and she's a man that's playing a part of a woman who's either pre-op or she's operated in. Now she's in a different show with Katherine Heigl called No Doubt. That's going to be a TV series. And what's funny is you say Katherine Heigl did a show on NBC. I don't remember the name now, with Alfre Woodard, who was the president. She was a double whammy. Was a black female president.
So I know that there's
Did you
pushing
even hear
the.
what I just said?
Yeah, I did. I don't know about any of those.
Seems
but
like
I'm
you're very
taking
glazed.
because I didn't know. I'm not
Maybe the
familiar.
hip movement is
That-
taking the blood away from your
I
head.
can't. I told you I can never think of anything
Yeah.
else. At any point in time, I think you're just gonna start
Exactly,
doing that.
yes.
I swear to God.
Gyration.
I didn't even know
motion.
people could move that way.
Yes, it's very.
With their feet completely
Very
planted.
talented, yes.
And drink a lot of water
Years
ahead
of
of time.
practice,
Yeah.
exactly, yes.
I just don't know factually why it is that the Hollywood mainstream is trying to
Why do you
create
think
a
it is?
representation of something that is not statistically congruent with our population.
Because-
Meaning that we don't have that necessarily that
Yes,
many gays
that's
and
right.
lesbians
They-
and transsexuals in the population. It's certainly, in my perspective, less than 10%, which is a common perspective. So if it's in that certain type of a minority,
Still a lot of people.
okay,
Less than,
should there be more than 10% of the shows that then have this to make it look like a norm?
Well, that's a great point you bring, and I'm going to give you an answer that my opinion is. There's 380 million people in this country. 10% is 38 million people. Okay, those 38 million people, my friend, are a lot louder, okay, than the other 343 million people.
Just keep
42.
shaking your hips, my friend.
42. No, you
That's
want
not
to-
your strong suit.
Hold on.
Go
What?
ahead.
38 from 380 is 50, 42.
Go ahead. Keep going.
42.
We don't need to do the math.
342, 300. So I'm saying those 38 million people are a lot louder than the 342 million. So that's why they've been placated to. And it's all about advertising dollar. It's all about, you are looking at me differently now. I'm kind of getting worried the way you're looking at me. You are looking at me a
Those
little
hands
bit.
are moving. I don't know where they're going.
You're looking at me a little
Your
bit
feet are
different.
shaking. I don't know what's gonna happen.
But, so what happens is the gay and lesbian, the LGBT community.
And Q.
And it's a lot louder, okay, than the other communities. And so what is Hollywood? What is TV? It's all about representation. It's all about advertising. It's all about getting the dollar. So the bottom line is if they see that there is a group that's going to be supporting these things on a very vocal level, they're going to go ahead and do things for that group. They're going to put in the African American if the African American people are going to scream and shout if there isn't one. They're going to put in the woman, or they're going to put in the Asian. They're going to put in the Middle Eastern. That's how it is. You think when they, I mean, beyond the indie movies, in my opinion, when they make a Hollywood blockbuster, they look at it as a grocery store almost. That what do we need to put in to see how can we draw? Okay, we put in Al Selha. He has a following of. I know of people that have millions of followers, and based on that, they're getting parts on movies, or simply because they can bring those people to the forefront.
But some of these characters don't need to be gay, lesbian,
I
or
understand.
cute.
Well, no, but
it's not adding to the
you don't
value
understand.
of that character
For
or
you,
detracting.
for you.
Sometimes it's necessary.
No.
But sometimes I
you don't get it.
It's arbitrary.
You don't get it simply because you're not gay, you're not lesbian, you're not Q, you're not transgender. You know exactly what you are. You're a heterosexual man with a very funky haircut. The bottom line is you already know who you are. And that's why it makes no difference to you. But to this group that has been shunned, that has been looked down upon, that has been persecuted, that has been trivialized to a certain extent, when they have someone that trivial to me and you possibly, but to this group it's like, no, it's not, oh my God, the guy is this in that show. To them it means it's getting closer to acceptance, because that's the bottom line. You see, you can't understand this. I can't understand this because I am comfortable with who I am. But imagine if your entire life you know you're somebody else, and because of how society looks at situations, you can't come out of that closet, and you have to. Some of these individuals that go through a life of misery because they cannot be honest with society. So anything that helps them become comfortable with who they are, I'm all for it. And if that means in a TV show with an irrelevant person, you know what? You can be gay or lesbian.
Of course you can.
These people feel
I just don't think it's correct. I don't think that you should.
Why do you think it's correct?
Because I don't think you should sacrifice the writing, the style, the concept of the show, just so you can propagate your own political agenda or your own sexual agenda.
What is the purpose of the show, my friend?
The purpose of the show is to entertain.
Okay, exactly.
Okay. Now,
thank you. Now,
if
these people are being entertained, and the writer wants to entertain them, and by placating to them, he's doing that. What difference does it make?
I just think it's synthetic. Sometimes I've seen it where it is great and it's organic, and I think it's wonderful. And other times I think they're just doing this purposely to make something that is effectively abnormal and in the minority by definition to something that's mainstream and normal. You see, effectively speaking, when you have a group of people who are effectively abnormal by design and reproductive method and psychological method...
Hold on a minute, you calling gay and lesbian people abnormal?
Yeah, of course they are. They're abnormal. These people are abnormal. God created them abnormal. Abnormality is a statistical qualified statement.
I know, but
it is
in
something
society,
that is over or under 50%.
In society, it's looked upon as a negative connotation.
Fine, but
you as a scholar and as a person who is very, very caring of individuals' feelings, you shouldn't use that word, in my opinion, abnormal, because that means that they're not normal. Normal is the norm, so they're abnormal, they're not normal. Well, they feel they're completely normal. To them, me and you are possibly not normal.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Actually, okay, to them, they know that they're different.
Yes.
Okay, but to them, that's normal. Who are we to judge what's normal? No. That's the whole point.
Okay, thank you. That is
why are you dismissing the comment?
Because that's what an activist would say who's not really listening and is unintelligent. I believe abnormal.
I'm not an activist.
Well, you are, but you're playing that.
Imagine.
Fine, but I am telling you that abnormality, the definition of it is something that is outside the range.
Word.
Okay, you don't like it, but I'm saying it as a scientist. Abnormal in the world of science is something that is way skewed from normality of statistical probability. So it is abnormal that we might find life on other planets, even though I believe that it exists. The possibility of finding it within our lifetime is very low.
People that have taken that word, okay, out of the scientific realm.
Sure, you're right.
And they've used it to abuse these individuals.
That's true.
I think for that reason,
we
shouldn't use it.
Fair enough.
People have taken that word out of context. You're speaking from a completely non-prejudicial, scientific Other people have said, look at you, you're abnormal, you're blah, 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 you're going to go to hell, all they
You're right. Let me pre-qualify. When I say abnormal,
and I apologize for calling me activist.
You're an activist.
No, the other point of unintelligent. I'm like,
I apologize for the unintelligent.
After all the hip movement, it comes and insults me.
I'm not insulting. I'm saying you're acting like someone. I didn't say you. But I'm saying that to qualify abnormality, and I think I'm not afraid to use these words because I want to be able to talk like a scientist when it's appropriate. But to qualify it, abnormality in this sense that I'm using it does not imply inferiority, does not imply any form of
right or wrong
to say one is or even better or worse.
That's perfect.
It is simply a matter of statistical qualification.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
So in terms of statistics, that number, since it's small, is abnormal. And I've given it the benefit of the doubt because some people say it's 2%, some people say it's 5%. I'm rounding up and saying 10% if you want to throw in every form of even psychologically confused people who may not anatomically be LGBTQ. They may actually just have
What is the Q?
I think it's transgender or trans up.
Q.
Yeah, LGBTQ.
Okay.
We'll look it up and we'll talk about it more. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is,
I thought he was the guy, the James Bond, was named Q.
Oh yeah, Q, and there's M too.
There's M and there's Q.
That's right.
So I don't know what it represents.
Which one? Right. Okay, but we'll come to that. The fact is that we have. I am giving the benefit of that to that.
Okay, we'll get to your point.
My point to is when you have that kind of a community, I believe that there should be a representation, sure, but only when it is not at the cost of content. If we are looking at
cost of content.
Yeah. For example, if in the modern day time we're looking at certain kinds of classical poetry or classical theater, and in those times we're going to say, oh, okay, we're okay with certain types of contexts of homosexuality. Let's just put it into our play because we want to promote it. I don't think that the organic nature of a hit show should be pushed forward by a political motivation.
I think that whoever's producing that show, whoever's making that show, whoever's writing for that show, if they feel that they want to have a motivation, political or otherwise, it's their right to do so because it's supposedly a free country.
Sure. Again, obviously they are doing that, but I'm just saying that
you're uncomfortable.
It makes me lower my value and lower my qualifications for that show. It makes me want to say, okay, well, they're doing this for a reason. It's not necessarily for me. Or for
but don't you think
99?
But don't you think 90, with the exception of a few movies and a few TV shows, don't you think most of what's happening on TV and radio is driven by some sort of a message or an agenda of sorts?
I think there's all forms of agendas, sure, and I do believe that this is an agenda too. It's just not an agenda that I feel is, I guess you're right, comforting. And I believe that it can also offer a little bit of harm. And this is a separate topic. I think that in certain categories, in certain age categories, where people are trying to identify and they're still young and their brain is forming, brain develops all the way to maturation or maturation standards till the age of 25. Up until the age of 25, the brain is still forming and it's still trying to identify. And even more so in the adolescent years. When we're looking between ages of 12 to 19, there's a definitive formation that takes place. In that time, there's a lot of people who are effectively confused. A lot of people are confused. And this is not a way to be, again, insulting to anyone. I'm saying that there exists a group of people who are confused and they don't know.
So you are 100% talking about nature versus nurture.
I'm saying that nature versus nurture also plays a role in some of these cases.
So you're telling me that someone who is gay could have become gay because they saw TV shows or movies that made gay cool?
I think that
that's what you're saying.
No, you just asked me a question. Let me answer it.
Answer it
before you persecute me.
Answer it.
I think that there are someone who is gay. Okay. I think there are some people who unfortunately either pretend to be gay because being gay is cool, and it turns out they're not. We've had several circumstances where people came out of the closet. Turns out that they weren't in the closet to begin with, or they weren't. Or there's some people who take advantage of these poor people. There's other people who are confused. It's not their own fault. They just didn't know. They experiment with one thing, they experiment with something else, they go back and forth. That happens as well. So I do know that there is a population that either consciously or subconsciously, or because they have no form of identity formation at that point to one particular sexual form, decide to adopt this form of behavior.
Okay, you're not making any sense. Could you please succinctly tell me what you mean? Make your point.
My point to you is that from the media, we start to get ideas for legislation sometimes, and it starts to move into our daily lives in terms of law and in terms of practice. And my personal belief is that when we look at these, we need to be able to make the right executive decisions that last for a longer time that represent the will of the people.
Sure.
For example, just a few days ago, we were looking at the reversal of an executive order that essentially pressured states to allow restrooms to be used for people with gender identity issues. So essentially someone who could have been born biologically a male who identified as a female should be allowed to use the female bathroom. That is a law that Obama had legislated through executive order, and that particular law was then pushed onto the states by saying that if you don't follow our executive order, you may be punished because we may withhold federal funding for certain things to your state, pushing the different states to adopt this law or this practice.
Forcing them, basically.
Right, forcing them to allow this to happen, even though many people are not okay with that. And so this particular law that may have, in fact, been influenced, obviously, by media, by shows, by movies, by parades, by advertisement, and by activism, has been created and now reversed. And the fact of the matter is, I think that there should be some continuity. Trump just recently came and struck down that law, making it so that it's no longer forced on the states. We do have the independence between states and federal government.
What is your opinion of that?
I first of all, I believe that the states and the federal government should be autonomous. I do not believe that the federal government should ever be completely imposing its will on the states, because that was the project to begin with. 50 states within one union, and we pay taxes for a greater good. But more specifically to your point regarding this concept, I do not believe that gays are bad or good. I do not believe they're certainly better, but I do not believe they're certainly worse. I think that God has created them for a reason, and it could be a different reason that He has created homosexuals. But every type of homosexual and heterosexual serves a purpose. We don't know what that purpose is, but they are also.
So, what is your opinion of the law, man? Why are you skirting? Just get to your point.
My opinion of which law?
This
the
law
Trump reversal or the original law?
It's the same thing.
I think it's not the same.
What I'm saying is it's the same law. One guy put it into power, one guy took it out.
I think that if you're going to have, first of all, I don't even believe that there should be separate bathrooms. And in most places you have the dual bathrooms, like the family bathrooms that you go into. I think we just get over this whole concept of
male and female.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just the urinals, urinal situation.
Maybe we just get rid of
the
urinals.
All we have to, but
yeah.
If the urinal people get offended,
the urinal people,
then that's the people that make the urinal. No, I'm serious because you never know. What,
sure.
But all joking aside, everything you're talking about, okay, also reminds me of certain parallels to white-only fountains, white-only lunch counters, white-only restrooms. So, not that it's the same thing, per se, okay, but it really, in the opinion of the gay and homosexual community, it is the same thing, because an African-American person who was persecuted simply because of their color of their skin had no control or choice in that, and people of homosexual or gay dispensation believed that they had no choice, they were born that way. So, this is why it seems like everything is really becoming gray, and there is no black and white. You know what I'm saying? Because I have no issue with someone who really has that gender situation going to that bathroom. But then how are you going to police the people that are taking advantage of that wrongfully?
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? That's the whole point.
And that's why I think in that particular case, we should just get rid of
unisex straight out.
Just everything should just be unisex.
Awesome, man. And I know you're not homophobic. That's why I'm glad that you cleared up, because you were really you were like Ku Klux Klaning it up, bro. I'm just psychotic. So I'm glad that you clarified your point.
My point is that every law should have some form of representation for faculty. The faculty of the majority that are going to be able to use it. If you're making esoteric laws.
Yes, but you brought up a very good point. The best point you made ever in your life, I believe, was the comment that you made that based on guidance through TV and radio and movies and people believing that to be the norm because there was a time you watched Dan Rather and that, or Walter Cronkite, and that was the news. You believed him, whatever he told you. Okay, now that's completely washed down and it's a different situation, but those people, the evening news, control pretty much everything. So if you fast forward that to today, when people go watch something, you hear dun 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 dun. People get afraid to go in the water because they're afraid the Jaws is coming. So yes, I agree with you. So based on that situation, they could then push people towards making certain laws, and then those laws affect other things. And so that is a 100% true statement that is being used by certain governments to manipulate the coup d'etats in certain countries by giving false information through a variety of different channels that do not exclude TV and or movies.
Let me ask you, one of the things that...
and we have to wrap it up after you ask me.
Wrapping it up, one of the laws that, one of the issues that is trying to be pushed is homosexual sex education for children in elementary,
gray area,
high, and high school.
Thank God that I don't have to deal with that in my...
What do you say? Should that be allowed? Would you want your kids to see that as also another form of acceptable and normal sex act? Considering you were debating the term normal with me earlier.
Interesting point. Is
it a normal sex act?
Interesting point. Well, to a certain percentage of the population, it is, and that's what. And
would you want your kid learning about it?
I believe that kid that is going to be learning about that already knows about it.
No, because it is the first time to learn everything.
I understand, but I think
first time
what age are we talking about?
Well, sex ed.
I learned sex ed. I learned sex ed 10th grade.
Okay, but we have sex ed even at the elementary school level.
I think we shouldn't talk about any sex ed in elementary, regardless of hetero or
on a basic level, we do, and then it becomes more and more and more advanced as you go through the years.
Now we're going to a gray area. I believe there should be no sex education in elementary school.
Okay, fine. Let's just talk about high school sex ed.
Okay.
In a high school sex ed class,
I think they already know about it. I got no issues with the kids learning about that. This is also happening in the world.
And they should see the videos and say that this is.
Are they showing the other videos?
Yeah.
Then they show this.
They should show those videos too.
It's not around a should. You're acting like, oh my God, they're showing the other video.
Yeah. I'm an open guy, but if it was me, I don't believe
Are you open? Because you're really sounding closed right now.
I'm an open guy, but I honestly don't believe that in a sex ed class, this should be presented as a normal form of. I
would like to reserve this time, freeze it. We'll say goodbye to you today, but I'd like to pick this up the next time, exactly where this is, and talk about it, because that's a very good point you bring up, and it is a complete gray area, and we like to sort of have you think about what you believe in regards to that situation, because I believe a 15, 16-year-old man or woman in high school already knows all about these things, and he believes that he's not comfortable with them seeing a sex ed. Are they showing pornos?
Let's say,
if they're showing a soft porn of a guy and a girl.
It's educational porn.
Educational porn of that's interesting. What is educational? What is educational?
It's an old concept. It's essentially educational sex acts where you show how heterosexual sexuality is demonstrated.
So in this situation, they're gonna show homosexual and lesbian situation as well. So there's gonna be 3 pornos or 3. Whatever you're talking about, what is it called?
Homosexual education.
No. The video education part. That's what I mean.
It's a sexual education.
Sexual education. So, should there be 1 video, 2 videos, 3 videos, no videos? The bottom line is, it's too wide of a subject for us to wrap it up right now.
Well, I just feel it should be applicable. I think that if you are
I'm saying, can we have another freaking? We will talk next time about it, because it's a topic that needs to be covered.
I think it needs to be covered, but I also don't want to. I don't want you to keep attacking me as if I'm.
Was I attacking?
Who are you asking? I'm just saying.
I'm asking the people. Was I attacking? Please write comments and let us know after you subscribe. That was I attacking this gentleman who was completely homophobic in his actions at this half an hour.
I just feel that as the brain is developing...
You don't have a child as of yet.
Okay. No.
Right? Okay. Now, you don't want your child to see that. That's it. That's your opinion.
I think that education you get should be applicable. So I'm not saying it's completely inapplicable. Maybe that if you have a strong affinity towards something, you can opt out and opt in to the form of education that you feel is more applicable to you. But
Do you want to have this conversation next time, or you want to
Sure,
keep going
sure.
on about it?
We'll go ahead and talk about it. We'll save it and we'll agree to
It seems
disagree,
like-
I guess. in
Well,
this
we are
particular case.
completely disagreeing. I believe a 16-year-old boy or girl in
True.
high school already knows everything they can teach the people on the
That's completely
tapes.
untrue. I mean, what you're saying is ridiculous. If they already know
Is this
something, they
guy-
don't come and teach you that thing.
Okay.
They don't know it based
Obviously,
on the facts.
the doctor doesn't know what he's talking
Do you
about.
think they know about
We'll- we will-
chromosomal
we-
replication
we
at
will-
that age? They
we
don't.
will talk about chromosomal replication next time. Bye-bye.